I'm Nick Smith, and welcome to another edition of Beyond the Lens, Tools of the Trade. Quick history lesson for you. Dumont Television was a maker of television sets in the 1940s. In 1945, Dumont ventured into a new form of broadcast and built a television station right here in Washington, D.C. And WTTG would become the second broadcast television station in the market. Part 2 of this lesson. WTTG stands for Thomas T. Goldsmith. Get it? In 1945, Goldsmith would become WTTG's first engineer. So there's a long history of being on the cutting edge of technology since its inception, and it's no different today.
So with the pace of news and how fast things are traveling now, we got to be able to keep up.
20 years in the business, and this is one of the most technological sound times we've ever had. We've got drones, phones, anything with a camera on it, we're getting video with it and bringing it to the viewers.
I haven't seen technology run this quickly and change this quickly in the years that I've been in the business. In the last 5 to 10 years, it's every 6 to 8 months something's coming out.
News, it's coming every day, nonstop, and storytellers are always looking for that unique way to tell a story that can capture your interest.
I do think what viewers like the most is seeing a perspective that they can never get anywhere else. And that is what we're providing with all this new technology that we're bringing in.
Drone downlinking technology allows you to see the video in real time, so when you get to a scene, you can fly above it, you can get the shots that you need that no one else can see from the ground, and that puts an extra edge on your news coverage.
If I give you a camera, you can go out and shoot some pictures. But if I give you a drone, now you can tell some stories. I'm giving you tools to produce segment-driven television. We're not just a news organization, we're storytellers. You know, yes, we're journalists, but we want to tell you the best story we can.
I've done many hurricanes, and this is the first one where I've been able to go down there and I had a drone. And to go down there and fly that drone to get the before shots and just really get the perspective of what this storm, the pictures before and then after, what this storm brings, was just one of the most amazing things I've been a part of. To get the shots of the coast from above the water, you couldn't get that shot before. And that's where the drone is really going to come in handy for us.
Our storytellers here at Fox 5 have always been some of the best in the country, bringing the people you hear and the things you see to life. And some of those stories require a unique perspective. In order to feel the magnitude of the message, the only way to see it and to feel it is to do it from up high.
I like this shot right here because it's a perspective thing. It starts off low and then it turns the corner, it reveals high, so now you can see it's a drone. It makes it look like your favorite movie. This is like setting into the next scene. It makes you have kind of an excitement for what you're going to see next. One of the things I do here is try to always look to push the technology and how we can create video, how we can record video, and how we can go live with video. That's what's going to bring the viewers. That's what's going to have people watch our show. I look at the news as this is just a program. It's news, it's important information, but it needs to be enjoyable. This technology helps us with that. It helps us tell the stories. It helps us show the stories in more creative ways than we've been able to before.
Even with the new tools and fancy gadgets, it's still our job to deliver the newscast accurately.
This probe is coming to its final chapter.
Quickly.
Coming up, a live report.
And as efficiently as possible. I know you want to know what happens behind the scenes. More Beyond the Lens, Tools of the Trade, when we come back.
Probably the most meaningful experience I've had in my 11-year career was in 2012 when I flew down to Haiti with former President Jimmy Carter. He was going down with Habitat for Humanity to do a building project in Haiti. The most impactful thing about that trip was the emotion and the appreciation that the people had there for what was going on, and meeting the locals and meeting the volunteers. It was just an amazing experience that I'll always cherish.
I had a chance to fly with the Blue Angels on Fat Albert, and the captain came out before we took off, and he said, "Hey, that's a big camera, we should strap it down." I said, "No, I got this." I was very comfortable with this camera. I felt quite all right. He said, "It's going to be zero gravity," and sure enough, about 40 seconds into the flight, I came flying up out of the seat, my camera came flying up off my shoulder, and it's an open air cockpit, and I thought I was about to lose a $25,000 camera. Needless to say, next time I flew with them, I strapped that thing down pretty good.
Hey, come here. Welcome back to Beyond the Lens, Tools of the Trade. Meet photographer Dan Grudovich, who will introduce you to the Fox 5 Steadicam team.
The Steadicam brings a kind of a different experience. Everything is smooth. It allows you to kind of glide through a scene, whether that's through people around what you're looking at or to travel with the subject. So if you want an anchor to walk from one point to another, you feel like you just float with them rather than the normal bob and kind of balance that you get by walking.
This is a race, friends, that people have been keeping a close eye on.
The difference in the stabilizer in your iPhone when you're taking video and the difference in this when you're wearing it as a body rig, it's about 50 pounds.
The Steadicam is basically fluid motion. Every piece of equipment has a different function and everything works in tandem. Your body has to kind of flow with the entire rig and the camera. If you wear a different garment the next day, the balance is off. You have to readjust for that.
It's a big learning curve. I tell people it's 6 months of practice before you're commercially ready to go on television with it.
Temperature is definitely dropping.
The trick to being a good Steadicam operator is just to pre-plan and be one step ahead of the shot.
Right there, that's right there. Yep.
So that you have some sort of notion as to how you're going to make your move. If you're going to do it backwards, and if you feel uncomfortable, then you have to shift your body to make it a forward move. Look for obstacles just so you don't trip.
I liken it to a painter. You can tell people the mechanics of painting and they can understand that, but they still need the practice to really get the concepts down.
I hit the street to talk to people to say, hey, what do you think?
When I'm actually doing a move live, I always think that it could have been done better. And sometimes when I look at a tape of a previous move, I'm like, wow, that was okay.
Steadicam's really changed the way that we can cover news here, both events live in the field, but also just in our daily news broadcast. We're able to follow talent around, follow people that are being interviewed around, show what they're doing, and move with them rather than try and direct their action to a particular camera.
You rarely see any static shots anymore in any kind of production unless you're doing some sit-down interviews or soap operas. It can only help the production. I think it's so much easier on the eye, and what it adds is just really cool.
Steve, I'll let you have the first one.
It is physically strenuous. There's no question about that. There's certain segments that just require you to stay ready the whole time, where you'd have a chance to put that camera down. By the end of the show, you felt like you worked 25 hours.
The coolest thing about the Steadicam, and one of my favorites, is just the reaction I get from people who see it in operation. They liken it to something like RoboCop or a SWAT officer coming in as you glide through a scene.
Just to see that camera work and the image that it puts out. I mean, you can literally go upstairs, downstairs, step on the studio platforms, off.
Getting the show started a little bit early today.
And the shots look really nice and smooth. I think the faster you go, the better it looks. But if you do a slow move, that can be sweet too. It just glides, put a nice wide angle look.
News is always evolving. Ultimately, it's about trying to make it the best experience for the viewer. The Steadicam gives us that, and I really think has brought us leaps and bounds into a new area of both storytelling and engaging the viewer. And I just feel fortunate to have helped raise the bar that much more in our broadcasts.
Lights, camera, action. Time for a peek at the men and women who put it all together.
So back in 2009, I covered a story on panhandlers. Me and my reporter at the time actually got to interview a guy on the street. He called himself a professional hobo. That story was amazing. We ended up winning the Moro for it. A couple of years later, we ended up finding out this guy was a serial killer. He killed probably over 8 people throughout the US. And the scary part about it, or the oh wow moment, was when he invited us back to his camp to show us how he lived, and we realized that that's where the majority of his murders took place.
My bizarre industry story took place in Afghanistan. It was almost 120 degrees at sunset, and I'm waiting on the back of the ramp of a big cargo plane to get on, and I have all my gear on me, packed 3 or 4 packs attached to me, and just sweating. And I'm standing behind this turbine engine, blowing hot exhaust at me, and just baking. And I remember I couldn't even set my packs down because these Campbell spiders running around everywhere. You could see them, like the ground was moving. and I'm just getting dizzy and woozy and just baking, and it's an extreme heat. Finally, the ramp comes down and everybody gets to get on the plane, and I take a big step up on the plane, and the pants that I bought, which were on the cheap end, just broke open and ripped like stripper pants. I mean, they were just gone. Like I was wearing a nylon loincloth, and I quickly became the subject of conversation with all the soldiers on the plane, how quickly my pants just burst and disappeared.
Okay, this is my running with the buffalo story. Long time ago, station I was at before, I was with a reporter, they sent us out on breaking news. Buffalo are running through the street. So we head out to the county, we get to a development, all the buffalo apparently have run into the development. So I get out, I have the reporter drive, so I can just hop out with the camera, and I see the buffalo. So I start running behind the buffalo with the camera on my shoulder. The buffalo going one way, then they get another way. The police show up, they corral all the buffalo right towards a tennis court. I get up to the tennis court, the buffalo turn around, decide they want to come back the other way. Well, at that point, I realized I'm no match for a buffalo. There was a police officer standing beside me. I looked at him, I stepped behind him because he had the gun. That's my running with the buffalo story.
Welcome back to Beyond the Lens, Tools of the Trade. We introduced you to our Fox 5 flight team who showed us the drones and how they use those images to help our reporters and writers bring those pictures to life. We took you into the studio and showed you the smooth, steady hands of those who operate the Steadicam. Now it's time to take you out into the field and show you how we try to bring that studio effect to the field 365 days a year, because the news live shot is our news department's bread and butter.
One thing we're doing is we have a gimbal where we can bring you Steadicam motion to a live shot out in the field.
Full-size 747 replica. This is like the real deal here, right?
This shot before would have just been done at the front of the plane. We would have started here, would have been at the front of the plane, showed you the plane, and have been kind of very generic. But with this gimbal, we were able to walk. We started at the left front of the plane and actually walked all the way through, showed the underbelly of the plane, the tires, walked around. We had an interview subject behind the second set of tires.
It's amazing who you find when you walk around the bottom of a 747.
I was watching the show, and I was watching other stations, and I can see a photographer on sticks maybe 30 yards away with a still shot of that plane. And I can't tell you just the feeling that I get when I see the technology that we bring into the station just sing like that.
It definitely changed the game for spot news. I mean, you're not restricted to a cord coming from a truck anymore. You don't have to worry about people tripping over your wires.
We can actually put the viewer in a perspective that make them feel like they're actually there.
It takes more than lights to get the perfect shot. More from Behind the Lens, Tools of the Trade.
I was in Haiti some years ago, and there was a big earthquake back there, and I was there with some friends the day before. The only reason that I'm here today is because I got a call. I just stepped out, got on the phone, and they said I gotta head back here, so I came while I was on the plane, and then this earthquake happened, and all my friends that was there, they all gone. I'm the only person here today. So I went back the next day again, so I started shooting, and doing all this stuff, and I did a big documentary, and I actually got an Emmy for this story. So everybody call me Smiley, but I think my name should be Lucky,
Most memorable will be Donald Trump's inauguration. I witnessed protesters actually torching a limousine as well as a Fox News vehicle, literally breaking out all the windows, stealing fire extinguishers, and literally setting the car on fire. It was just a wild time because I remember looking around the corner. I had my live truck parked on the corner as I was trying to play so-called security for the crew that was in the midst of the crowd. So I remember that being a nervous time for me because I was like, oh, I'm about to get fired because this truck goes, I'm gone.
Oddly, one of my fondest memories of running Steadicam was when the Washington Capitals won the Stanley Cup. I got to be the photographer who walked with the parade, sending it out to the nation. Unfortunately, I had to walk the entire parade never breaking shot, which was like 16 blocks and took like an hour and a half. So by the end of this parade, 16 blocks, 45, 50 pounds of gear on me, I put the Steadicam on the rack and basically just collapsed on my back on the trailer. Fast forward, I start getting all these comments from friends on Facebook, and I go and look at it, and someone had taken a picture of me looking like I'm dead, laying on my back. Obviously I was worn out, everyone had a good laugh, but still one of my fondest memories.
Thanks so much for joining us for Beyond the Lens, Tools of the Trade. I'm Nick Smith. But before we go, I want our photographers to leave you with their final thoughts.
The technology has changed so much since I started in this business 11 years ago. Probably, in my opinion, the most impactful change has actually been social media. It really changes the way that we go out to a scene and get information on the air. It used to be that we would set up a live truck and broadcast as fast as possible to get information out. Now our first step is going to our cell phone and getting video or pictures out and what information we have in that moment as fast as possible out via social media.
New technology has definitely risen the bar for news storytelling because I see stuff that 10-year-olds did on YouTube that is really impressive, which makes us have to work even harder. And new technology has also brought us the tools to do that with. I mean, we can use a GoPro and shoot underwater, where not all that long ago, the kind of rig that you would need for that would be crazy expensive. Or drones in the air, or steadiness on the ground. And I think at its essence, new technology helps us tell the story in a way that helps the viewer forget that they're watching television.
It definitely makes you a better storyteller, but it also helps you capture the moment in real time where people can actually see it real time and not having to run back and edit it or send it out. Everybody is seeing everything raw.
We're always looking for something different, to be different, to show you a different perspective, however we can. We're always on the top of our technological game.